This is a story about history. I believe, especially when we are young, um, we don't pay much attention except at what goes on right around us. But once in a while, history rises up and slaps us right in the face, and we realize it is a big, complex world out there. I was 18 years old. I was a freshman in college. I was going to college out on the West Coast. And then the West Coast was a shock to my system. I had grown up in a town in Iowa, and boy, I had not seen much of anything. So just a big city like Seattle was thrilling and interesting and a little bit frightening sometimes to me. But anyway, my little college, a very safe place. I had to take a course in American history, and that course was taught by a man from China, and I'm going to change his name. I'm going to call him Professor Hong. And I didn't really think Professor Hong was a good professor. I thought he was a little boring, maybe a little simple-minded, a little nervous, and I didn't hate him or anything, but I just wasn't very crazy about him. I think maybe I didn't like his accent. I had just never really been around people who had an accent that wasn't Midwestern accent. So I probably didn't like that either. I was a little snob, I think. Well, but he was okay. I mean, he wasn't really a bad teacher. And one day he came into class and he seemed unusually nervous, unusually kind of agitated. And he asked a question, a kind of huge question. He said, "What is the cause of civil war?" And we had been studying Civil War. Of course, I hadn't even read the assignment. So kids began to try to answer the question, and a kid said, slavery. Man, Professor Hung, he went nuts. He just said, no, it's not slavery. You didn't read the assignment. And the kid is scared, and another girl, she raises her hand and she says, was it railroads? And no, he's just furious. He's right in the face of these kids, and he just starts going down the front row demanding, what caused the Civil War? And the kids are trying, different answers. And every time he just goes, no, you're wrong. You don't read. You don't study. You're lazy. And I'm kind of like, what in the hell is this? And right beside me, there's a kid, and he's got his book, and he's got his book open. And he's looking at a chapter, and the chapter is called The Causes of the Civil War. And I'm thinking, oh, well, that's good. He's got his finger right there on a passage. And I think, boy, when the Professor Hong gets to that kid, I'll be okay. The kid will obviously have the right answer right out of the book. So Professor Hong gets to the kid, and and the kid goes, he starts reading from the book to Professor Hong. And Professor Hong, instead of saying that that's the right answer, he goes, no, you are wrong, you are wrong. And he turns to me, and before he can even get started, I say, will you quit this? What's the matter with you? Calm down. What are you yelling at everyone for? And man, just like that, he backs up and he retreats and he starts crying. Tears are coming down he doesn't even cover up his face. He's got his hands down at his waist, and he's just, tears are streaming down his face. And he goes, I am a bad professor. I am a bad professor. I deserve to be fired. And just like that, girls all over the class start going, oh, Professor Hong, we love you, Professor Hong. You are a good professor. And they're like staring at me like I'm the bad guy. I mean, I just saved the whole class from being yelled at by this crazy man. And now they're all looking at me like I'm a horrible monster. I was just disgusted. Anyway, finally class got over and I got out of there. And that evening, I'm in the dorm. I'm in my dorm room, and there's a knock on the door. And I open up the door, and there are six um, foreign exchange students. They are all Asians, and I'm like, whoa, what in the world? I don't really know any of them. I kind of vaguely recognize them. And can they come in? well, yeah, okay. I say, so I come in and I have like my bed, and my roommate has a little bed, and they're all perched around on the two chairs and the beds, and what do you guys want? And they tell me a story. And the story is that our professor back there in China, where he was born, his parents were teachers and professors. And I have no idea, but there's a thing called the Cultural Revolution going on. And the Mao has released the Red Guard, and all kinds of people with education are being punished and re-educated. And his parents, Professor Hong's parents, they had been forced to wear dunce caps and walk through the streets through a big crowd of yelling, screaming people, and they had been beaten to death. And he had heard that story. And at the same time, he was up for tenure. I think I was so young, I didn't even really know what tenure was, but he was up for tenure, and the committee had decided that he would not be awarded tenure. So that same day, he found out that his parents had been beaten to death in the streets, and he would not be awarded tenure. And that's when he walked into our class and he asked, "What is the cause of civil war?" I do not know if he ever learned the answer, nor if there is an answer. But I see now that profound questions cannot be asked calmly, nor can anyone who must know bear to hear wrong answers.